I just finished what will definitely go down as one of my favorite video games of the year, and I want to talk about it. Hi, I'm Nando. You probably mostly know me from talking about movies, television shows, comics, and this is none of that and also kind of all of that, but this video is about to be the very rare detour into Nando Video Game Corner, where I'm going to talk to you about a video game I bet you've heard a lot about recently. It is getting a lot of attention. It's a lot of fun. It just released its last episode, which if you're curious about how that works, I'll explain it. And it is called Dispatch. Now, okay, so 3 things you have to know about Dispatch. Number 1, it's a superhero game. It takes place in a superhero world. I would say it feels the most like Invincible. When I put on the trailer for this game, I think my girlfriend just assumed it was an Invincible game, which isn't to say that it's derivative stylistically, but it's one of those kind of superhero pastiche worlds where you see a guy and you go, oh, that's supposed to be this guy, but that's their version of him. We'll get to those characters. So it's a superhero game. Okay, what do you do in this game? So it's made by a studio called Ad Hoc Studios, which I believe was created from the remnants of Telltale games, which if you've never played a Telltale game before, because Telltale was a company that produced a lot of these games. This was the Walking Dead story-driven game. They made A Wolf Among Us, Guardians of the Galaxy had one of these, Batman had one of these, Minecraft had one of these. They were all over the place in terms of which were popular. The Walking Dead one, which was the first one, it was the first one that like I was familiar with, was a huge hit when that was out. Like everybody was interested in this kind of game. And it seems like, and I'm not a video game historian, but they made a bunch of games. They're never really able to recapture the magic. The licenses seem to cost money. And for whatever reason, these games kind of went away. And the gameplay was very simple. You would follow a story with like cutscenes. It was all very put together. And at certain points, you would have to make a choice. You would have 2 characters that are about to be attacked by zombies, and you would have to choose which one to sacrifice to the zombies, or you'd have to choose which one to sacrifice to the wolf. I never played the Wolf Among Us game, but I know that one's like a detective story or so. I've been told that's actually maybe the best one. So honestly, after how much I enjoyed this, I might give it a shot. I don't know. But it's one of those games where the most important part of the gameplay is making these decisions, and then this branching narrative where you see where, oh, this decision led this character to hate you, but this one likes you, and that made this character who you meet later in this story not trust you. It's very complicated. You lead to different endings, and having finished this game, I could say there are definitely some small differences and some big differences in some of the endings. So it is like that. There are other elements of gameplay. You're not just watching this television show. Although, like, if this was a television show, it would be a good, well put together, like nice looking television show. It is very clean looking, has a very distinct style. The parts that look great, like the big animated fight scenes, look awesome. We'll get to all that. But the main gameplay mechanic, and it's kind of have to explain the very basic parts of the story because I'm not going to spoil it. No spoilers here. But you work as a dispatcher at a company called SDN. It's a superhero dispatching network, and it seems like what you can do is pay this company and then call them, and they will send a superhero to do something. So it can be like a cat stuck in a tree, or a jewelry store is getting robbed, or a place is on fire, or the school's doing an assembly about being a good person and working hard, and they need someone to speak at it. So it is your job as a dispatcher to look at all these requests as they come up and pick the right heroes for the right jobs. They all have scores of like how fast they are, how strong they are, how good at attacking, how charismatic, how smart they are, and that all factors into whether or not you complete the tasks. So that's kind of the core gameplay loop, but because it's a Telltale game, you go for stretches without, like every day you do this, and there's 8 days, 8 episodes. So it's not like there's an episode where you don't do it at all, but it is definitely not what you were doing a majority of the time you're playing this game. I don't think. I feel like you're watching a lot of cutscenes and then making choices during them. I don't know. I'd have to see somebody could do like a breakdown of the percentage of time you spend doing what, but I'd have to imagine it is less than 50% dispatching. So number 1, Invincible-esque superhero world. Number 2, Telltale game / dispatching superheroes. Number 3, the other thing you need to understand this game is Critical Role. Now, I am not a huge Dungeons & Dragons fan, so I've not watched Critical Role. I'm aware of it. It is a very popular, and it's one of those things where like me explaining it to most of you is going to sound insane, because it would feel like if I explained to you who the Yankees were. It's like, yeah, everybody knows that. But for people that don't know, Critical Role is a Dungeons & Dragons campaign or set of campaigns. It's like a group of people who play these very long, very well put together, very well written Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. 2 of them, I believe, have been made into animated television series, one being The Legend of Vox Machina. The other one, which I think is about to come out this week, is called Mighty Nine. And the thing I think you can take from Critical Role is it's got what I think is a very interesting mix of a dramatic, serious story mixed with these very real and kind of crappy, sometimes dumb, like characters in this environment who don't take all of it seriously, take some of it seriously, but it has a somewhat, let's say, irreverent tone. And Invincible's not a bad way to describe it. It does feel like very well written, like Seth Rogen stuff, kind of like the Ninja Turtles movie that they just made, although this is much more adult. You get that very quickly in this game, where like there's silly animated nudity and characters are constantly cursing at each other and calling each other names. It gets very vulgar in a way that is fun, and I think, you know, it's a little bit shocking sometimes, but that's kind of the point. And also, I think a lot of it sets up things that pay off really well at the end, so I won't spoil it. But okay, so that's this game called Dispatch, because you're dispatching the heroes. You play a character who used to be a hero, who's kind of the Iron Man of this universe, but he lost his suit, so now he needs a job, and he kind of understands this part of the game, so he gets involved as a dispatcher. That is Robbie, played by one of the bigger stars in this game, Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. People very familiar with him, I mean, from all kinds of stuff. Need for Speed, that movie. I think he also owns like a whiskey company or tequila or something. I would say the other big star in this game is Jeffrey Wright. Many of you probably know as the voice of the Watcher, or, you know, he was in that Westworld show, or in tons of other stuff. The rest of the voice cast, a lot of them are Critical Role people, like very, very talented voice actors. And that, I think, is a big part of why this game works. Some of the other voice actors I think is interesting. I don't know where they got this idea from, like why specifically this, but there's a couple of voice actors who you would mostly know as online celebrity people. Like I believe there's at least 3 YouTubers and 2 musicians that also play parts in this game. And that's not to say like they're doing the bad jobs, but no, they're good. And like I think all of them work. And I don't want to sell them short as YouTubers. Some of them do other voice work. It's just you probably know them mostly as YouTubers. And again, I don't know how they decided to do this, if they thought their voice just sounded cool. But if you're looking for YouTubers for season 2, you call me. I will play whatever. I would say the most weak and pathetic one of these if I have to, but that one already exists. So whatever his sidekick is or something. But okay, so this game is divided up into 8 days. They were released 2 a week for the last month, and the reaction to them has been really positive. A lot of people have been buying and reviewing this game. There's a lot of fan art online, which is always a good sign, like it's being picked up by the community. I really liked it pretty much from jump, but I wanted to wait until episode 8 was done to make a review or recommendation, just because I would feel weird if like for some reason the ending was very bad or very different from the rest of it. Felt very cheap in a way that's like, man, I shouldn't have told everybody to play that game because of how much this ending bothers me. And like based off how I was feeling last week, there was very little they could do to fully ruin it, but still I wanted to wait until the game was done. And I gotta say, so it's a confluence of all this stuff working together. This very well created superhero world, and I love that we're doing this. And like Superman did this in the Superman movie. It's not just like I'm the Iron Man and I'm the Captain America of this. These are versions of deep cut heroes, pastiches of deep cut heroes who have personalities and backstories that are like complicated and don't fully make sense. Like this isn't like the X-Men where they're all mutants or something. Some of them are like from other planets. Some of them are demons and magical things. So it's a very eclectic group, but it makes the world feel very lived in. And because of how specific some of these characters are, they all feel like very direct pastiches of certain characters that people like me are familiar with. People, and potentially people like you who read comic books, watch comic book movies, comic book shows, like you will see some of these characters go, oh, that's that one. And if you can't tell, I've taken some of my other action figures and put them in the group. Each one of them is kind of representative of what these characters in this game are. None of them are one-to-one. I would say like Magic is probably the most one-to-one here. Everyone knows I love Magic, the X-Men New Mutant, Ileana, like she's great. Really fun character, mutant who can teleport, who was sent to hell, and not hell, but like a hell dimension, came back with a sword and pretty tough, and also like still has the ability to teleport. So there's a character in the game called Malevola, and she is a demon, so she is from hell, but she has a sword and the ability to teleport. And I wouldn't say she even has the same attitude as Magic, where Magic can come off as kind of impersonal and sometimes even like provocative, like likes to be feared by some of the people around her, likes to feel tough. Malevola is like if Magic was fully a demon, because Magic could turn into a demon, like it's her dark child persona. So like Malevola's like that, but if the dark child persona was also pretty chill, pretty agreeable, character who, you know, was actually one of the more well-adjusted members of the team. So Malevola maps really well to Magic. I would say the other character that maps pretty well, which is, this one's on me because I don't have this action figure. This is a character I have Jubilee standing in for here. This is one named Prism, and she is very clearly the Dazzler of this group, with the powers of like MCU Miss Marvel, but based on light. She's a musician, like she sings and performs, and people are familiar with her outside of being a superhero. And she makes hard light constructs. And she has kind of an ego compared to some of these other guys in a way that I wouldn't say Dazzler traditionally does. Like, that's it. It's interesting. On the surface, they're fun pastiches, but then as you break down who these characters end up being and what their personality types are, they're even more like complicated subversions of some of these characters and some of these tropes in a way that is really fun to learn about over the course of these 8 episodes. Like, this game is going to live or die in a bunch of things. A, it has to look good. And it does. It looks amazing. Looks like an expensive television show. B, the story and the world have to be engaging, so that's what's going to take you through, you know, the day-to-day. But then the characters have to feel interesting. You want to see more of them. And they don't all have really complex stories. Like, for instance, a character like Prism doesn't have like a huge arc where over the course of the game you learn all, like, there's some characters that do, but other characters are just there. But like, seeing them interact with other characters, seeing them, you know, learn to be better versions of themselves, it's all very rewarding and very fun. The writing is incredibly sharp, the voice acting is incredibly sharp, and the animation is great. These characters have so much personality, and at the center of it obviously is Aaron Paul, who's playing this somewhat disaffected, kind of like, he's not Iron Man. He's definitely not Iron Man. He's like the powers of Iron Man, but the personality of an older, somewhat bitter Spider-Man without superpowers. So like, his vibe is very everyman. He, in the beginning, doesn't really know what he's doing, doesn't know what this job is, and he doesn't know these team members. But over the course of the series, he bonds with them, and you have a bunch of really, really excellent moments where you feel this team like really come together. Like, the standouts, obviously, I would say, is episodes 5 and 6. Have those moments. There's a bunch of other supporting characters, very memorable and fun. A lot of them are also like takes on sorts of comic book characters you may be familiar with, or powers you may be familiar with. But for me, like, the appeal of this game is just being in this world. And there's comics that they made that act as like supplementary material. You don't need to read them, although it does help to understand like some of the characters' relationships before all this starts. You see like which ones know each other, how they met, and like, I don't know, it just feels like, and I've heard people describe it as lightning in a bottle, where like, I will read every comic about these guys. I hope that they make a second season, because that has not been, I don't think, officially confirmed. I expect it will, because I think, like I said, it seems to be doing very well, and it's a matter of like, how quickly can they do it? What's their timetable? Do they need help writing it from other YouTubers who also maybe would be voices in it in the second season? Because I could help. I have a lot of great ideas. I might make a video about some of my ideas, so you know, you should definitely call me before that goes out. But like, seriously, this seems like one of those situations where I think they expected this to be good. I remember seeing trailers for this like a year ago or whatever and going, that looks like a lot of fun. And apparently they've been reworking this for a while, so it doesn't feel like they like put out, you know, something was like half baked. I don't know if they expected it to be this successful, and if they had, maybe, you know, they would have had more work done on whatever the next phase of this is going to be. But it's just fun because there's so many opportunities in this world for other things. So you could have a show. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets turned into a TV show. You'd have to have like a canon version of it, which is part of the problem of these Telltale games. You would have to kind of say like, this is the story. Although I believe this was originally going to be developed for like a streamer, like Netflix maybe, where you could like Bandersnatch, like you could play the game on your TV and have the choices, which I think would have been great. Because like, I think having a narrative that's engaging enough, characters that are engaging enough, and a game that looks good enough, like, it's tough to get all that and then have that play into a gimmick that is like, you're playing the game on your TV without it feeling like it's led by the gimmick. And it's like, oh, we really wanted to do this with the TV game, but like, this is what we put. Oh, it's like kind of like Invincible, go have fun. This story feels like it could be a show or a movie. It is a game, and that's cool. It's on all the platforms, so it's very easy to get your hands on. But I'm curious as to why that fell apart. And I don't know if it would have hit as hard or harder if like Netflix was behind it. But it's nice because it is this independent studio that is making it, So they have a lot of control over all of these characters and control over how they're going to produce more of it. So, if I were them, that's just me. Obviously, make more of it. Make a couple of comics. Hire some comic writers and comic artists and get the whole team. Just make some... Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw Dispatch people, but they made so many Rebel Moon comics. And the problem with Rebel Moon was not the comics. In fact, I've heard some of the comics are quite good. But it was nobody cared about Rebel Moon. And they put the cart before the horse and kind of made, this is going to be this whole world. And we're going to make 2 enormous movies and a million comics. Where you guys are in the opposite position. Where it's we have one really good thing. And I bet if they put a comic in a store right now, it would sell out. And I'm not saying it's easy to turn around a comic. I imagine it is perhaps easier than making a new video game. And I imagine a lot of comic people would be excited to work on this. I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm sure these are conversations they're having. Is this just me being selfish after this is done? Being I want more. And that feels like the obvious next step to bridge this first and second season whenever the second season comes out, which I hope it will. Now, we'll say, not perfect. I have some dislikes written down on the board behind me. The main one is not enough dispatching because as much as I love the story and the characters making decisions, I also really enjoyed that core gameplay of dispatching characters. And this is not clearly something that everybody has. I was talking to some friends who played it and we all kind of ended up on different parts of this, but by the end of it, I think I had pretty much figured the gameplay out. I wish there were more mechanics to make it feel more complicated. This feels like the kind of thing that if they bring this back and do a second season, they will retool the dispatching to make it more engaging, maybe swapping in and out different characters so you never know who you're going to have, making some of the stat boosts kind of random or something like that. There's things that they could do, I think, to make it more chaotic, which I think is a lot of the time the vibe they're going for. But the dispatching also tends to serve the story in a lot of points. So there's points where they're doing a mission and characters that you have a bad relationship at that moment with just don't do what you tell them or start trouble. And that, if I was playing this game and trying to get the high score in dispatching, would be very frustrating. So, I understand. I think if the story wasn't good, I'd want to do more dispatching, but because of how much I like how everything wrapped up, I don't mind too much. That being said, I wish there was a little bit more. There's also a hacking minigame I did not like at all. Now, I don't blame them for this because these are easy to do. Some people like them. Sometimes they're challenging. I found some of them super easy and some of them kind of challenging. And I liked that at certain points, this let us interact with what our characters are doing on the field in a way that was more than just dispatching. Kind of felt like you were down there with them. Sure. I just didn't find the mechanic fun. I never do though. And a lot of these games that have hacking mini games, they just don't work for me. This was one of those things that if you go into menu, you could toggle on unlimited tries. And I think that was nice because it took a lot of the pressure off, but still I don't know, I didn't really care for them. There's also quick time events. They weren't hard. The problem was with these, they're not incredibly frequent. There must be, I'm sure there are games you go through with no quick time events. And there's choices that come up where it's ask him to go on the mission, ask her to go on the mission, where you do have to pick one in an amount of time. But what I'm talking about is it says, and I played this on PC, so it's just click your mouse right now, or drag your mouse to the right and hold it. And it shows you to do that on screen. And that's usually in a fight or in some moment where Robbie is doing that. And you can pass those or fail those. I know in certain situations what failing them does because I've heard what that is. They're not really that hard. It's not Guitar Hero or anything. But there's points where I'm just watching the show and I'm really into it. And then Robbie does something. And then a thing comes on screen. I'm oh, right. I got to do the tapping. And I don't know how to fix that feeling of put your 3D glasses on, time to tap. But also, I understand what it's supposed to create. And it's this feeling of immersion. And it kind of does. It made some of the punches and stuff feel a little bit heavier. And I appreciate that. But at the same time, if this was something like Invincible, those punches feel heavy too because it's the show and the editing and the music and the pacing and all that stuff that this was also doing very well. Because of this passing failing thing, there were a fair amount of them that I just failed because I wasn't paying attention or didn't click right or whatever. But one of the things that always bugs me about these games is they say this character will remember this and oh, you did things wrong. I assume there's a punishment or some sort of penalty for that. By the end of the game, I don't know what it was. Maybe if you fail every quick time event, you just die and the game starts over again. I don't know. But it's this weird feeling of it's important because you have to do it. But on the other hand, you're like, why don't I just not do this? Like, is this adding anything? Is this going to change how the characters respect me because of how many punches? I don't know. But then there are a lot of other things that I liked a lot. I will say, without spoiling it, I already said it's got its adultness to it. A big component of the game, more than I expected, is a romance plotline where you have two different women that are like kind of into you, and because of the situation and your relationship, and they're different, you know, it's like any of those games. It's not incredibly complicated, but that becomes a really big part of like the story. And I appreciate that because I enjoyed it, and I think the characters are written well enough, and like you can either, like, people do this where you play the game as like, I'm the version of Robbie that's kind of an asshole and I don't really care about anybody but myself, so I'm just doing that run. Or like, I'm the version of Robbie that's the greatest guy ever, whatever. You do that, or you just do whatever you want to do at the time and see how that plays out. I think for me, the best part of this game, besides playing it, is talking about it with people. And I think part of what makes this game so fun is because the choices are it really isn't like a wrong and a right choice. There's, I would say, maybe darker and lighter endings or whatever. But because those choices, and all of the choices, aren't as black and white, it is interesting to say like, oh, you chose to do that instead of call this person. I didn't even think anybody would do that. That's crazy. How'd that go? And then they tell you like, oh man, you should have done this instead. There's certain things where I do think if they make a second season, there will be, and I think that's how they usually do this, like a canon, what season 1 was. I think it's pretty close to what I ended up doing, just because of how I imagine they would want to start the next season, but also because there were some things that happened that I was talking to people about afterwards, and they're like, yeah, what's the deal with that? And I was like, oh, you didn't have that conversation with that person? Oh, because then you wouldn't know what that is at all. And this whole reveal means kind of nothing to you. So it feels like if the game had a story, it's the one where you have that conversation so that that moment that the game thinks is a big deal plays like a big deal. And I think I'll make a video where I talk about my choices, because I'm curious to see what other people made, but I also want to share mine because I thought they were interesting. And I will say there's other stuff where like you get heroes that you like using more, like you like sending them out more, you think are more fun. You've got some that are annoying. There's bits where you change which heroes are in your squad and maybe get rid of one or two. Like, it is a more fluid roster than I was expecting. And it does lead to like you and your friend both playing a game where in the end you're like, oh yeah, what was his whole deal? I never did anything with that character. It's like, how did he work? And then your friend's like, oh yeah, he did this. And oh, that sounds like fun. Instead, I had this guy and he did this, and because I had to fire this one. And like that social aspect of it, I find really fun. And I've played plenty of games with choices, and like I played this Walking Dead game, and I played a little bit of the Batman game, and I never, especially with the Walking Dead game, I never felt like my choices mattered. Or sometimes the game would give you choices. Like I remember this very, very well from the first Walking Dead game. I think this is pretty early too. You go to a farm, there's an annoying kid and a cool guy. They both kind of get put into peril, and it's like, save the annoying kid or save the cool guy. And me, as someone who was annoyed by the kid, not even thinking about the utility of the cool guy, was like, oh, I'm saving the cool guy. And then instead, the game is like, but save the kid, and the parents, I think, make you save the kid instead. So instead of you actually making a choice, what you're just doing is making certain characters mad at you. And like, that is how these Telltale games lose me. And I don't want to talk about the choices because I thought they were stupid. But in this, I thought most of the choices were very fun. And like I said, I think they did have a significant enough impact on the plot that, like, I do think I played a different game than my friends. And like, yeah, I would not be surprised for a lot of people if this is their favorite game of the year. It is hard because this year is so many really, really, really excellent games. I don't know who's going to be the game of the year. The smart money's on Obscura 33 or whatever it's called. I haven't played that yet. But, I loved Hades. Silk Song, I hear, is good. Donkey Kong, I hear, is good. Ghost of Yotai, I hear, is good. Like, there are so many A-plus games that came out this year. And I don't think this is more complex than them or more compelling. Like, the narrative bits of Expedition 33 are very compelling, apparently. But I think, like, Dispatch was able to do something really special. Honestly, you know what it kind of feels like? It's not the same kind of thing, but it feels like a little bit of, like, K-pop Demon Hunters, where like it's really good, and if you were paying attention from a while ago, you're like, this is gonna be pretty good, and then it became really good, and then they were like, we'll put it in some theaters and we'll make another one in 5 years, and like they didn't have any toys out or anything like that. Like, so I do think this game is succeeding, and like part of its success will be money, and hopefully they will make a new one, and I hope they will work on it quickly. But because the expectations weren't incredibly high, I think a lot of people got surprised by this. And in a year where the games aren't so strong, I could see a world where this is game of the year, or at least on the list in contention. And that's really cool, because not only is it a very fun story that's very engaging, it's a type of game that used to be a big deal and kind of faded away, and they brought it back. You know what this kind of feels like? Actually, I don't know how I didn't say this before. It kind of feels like Baldur's Gate. Not the same, obviously. It's not even remotely as complex of a game and a world, but it is the kind of thing where you do feel like there's a bunch of choices, and you feel very endeared to these characters, and you want to ask other people, like, which thing did you do? Did you let this person kill this person? Because I didn't. I think Dispatch feels like the closest thing to that. And it's interesting because Baldur's Gate is a game, you know, it's kind of based on Dungeons and Dragons mechanics and stuff, and this is a game made by the people who play the Dungeons and Dragons. So it's like, oh, this is, you know, maybe there's something about this Dungeons and Dragons. I said this in my Q&A video recently. I've never played it. I would be happy to, if like there's some streamer like organizes one shots or something and like does, I would love to be on it. It'd be very fun, probably, or maybe I'd be awful at it. You never know. Not like voice acting, which obviously I'd be terrific at, or writing Dispatch. I'll also be terrific at that. But yeah, so this is my very long way of saying, play this game. It's very fun. As long as you are in the mood for a game that's, you know, kind of decisions, a quick time, more than like shooting and running and stuff, and a game that has a sense of humor and is, you know, it's adult in some ways that are like, oh, wow, okay. But in a way that sets this somewhat realistic, like not like the world is realistic, but the characters are reacting to things in a realistic, like believable way. You know, it does that really well. But like some of the moments that jump out as more bizarre, those I would say serve a purpose. They're also very funny. But yeah, it's super fun, very worth your time. There's even a trial you're able to play if you want to get a sense for what the dispatching is like. So you go check that out. Speaking of trials, you know, it's worth a shot to check out this video sponsor, Nebula, which we just introduced 3-day trials for Nebula. You're like, what's Nebula? Well, it's a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. I've talked about this many times in many videos before, where me and a bunch of other YouTube creators, people that make videos about like history, culture, current events, science, all kinds of stuff. It's a very big list of what we make videos about. But Nebula is a platform you can go to watch all our videos early, ad-free. You can like download them on your phone, and there's even original Nebula content like Patrick Williams' new short film, The Dinner Plan, which if you're watching this video the week it was released, The Dinner Plan will be on Nebula very soon after that. And also all kinds of other cool Nebula stuff, like the thing that I worked on, which we'll talk about in the future, which is very cool. But like Nebula is curated. I don't know if you guys use YouTube a lot. I do, for all kinds of stuff. And it has so much AI. And some of it's like obvious AI, right? Like a movie trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and it's all the characters just kind of turning. But there's also AI content where it is a disembodied voice talking about a news thing or character in a comic book or something. A lot of times I'll be like, what is the deal with this vigilante character? I would like to learn a little bit more about him pretty quickly, so I'll put on a YouTube video. And if I did this 3 years ago, it's like people who know what they're talking about, who are fans of the character, research the character, whatever, and they're like human beings. And I love that. Do it now. Unless you see the person's face or you know who they are, it could very well, and a lot of them are just like AI videos where the AI talks about the characters. It drives me up a wall because you don't always know it until like you're a little bit in and you're like, oh man, something about the way this guy's talking just doesn't feel right. But sometimes they just do sound right, and it's not until like you're pretty much done with the video that you're like, damn it, that wasn't a real person. And like Nebula's got a lot of great things going for it, but one main one that I love to tell people about is it's all real people. We are making it ourselves, and all the videos getting made on it are made by us, and it's very cool. And a yearly subscription to Nebula is $60. That is $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for just $36. That is $3 a month. We also have our Nebula lifetime memberships, which you pay $500 once and you can use Nebula for the rest of your life. And if you use my link, you can get it for $300 instead of $500. And also, the holidays are coming up. Nebula is a great gift. Like, sure, you could get someone a shirt they might wear a couple times, but for $36, you could give them a year subscription to Nebula. It supports the channels they love, and they get to watch all of our videos ad-free, which watching videos without ads is the greatest gift of all. It is an incredible deal, a great way to spend $3 a month. And if you're not sure about it, like I said, go check out the trial, check out some of our original stuff, watch some of my videos early as they go up, see if you love Nebula. I have a feeling you will, and hopefully I'll see you over there soon. But yeah, so look out for my other videos about Dispatch. Thank you so much for watching. That's all I got. Stay safe.